Oh boy, JD Vance is in hot water, ladies and gentlemen, after his appearance at the Turning Point USA conference. One, because of a question that was asked of him about his wife and their interfaith marriage. And two, because of his weird interaction with Erika Kirk. Let's go ahead and get into it. Now, it all starts off with this question here from a woman in the audience who I believe is also a Hindu. She is going to question JD Vance about himself, as a Christian, touting, Christianity, being married to someone who is not Christian. And I'm going to get into this a little bit. You guys know I told you before, I grew up in the church. I'm going to tell you what it says in the Bible in Corinthians about being equally yoked. I don't think a lot of people would be drawing attention to this if this isn't something that JD Vance, proudly wears on his sleeve, right? Like Christianity, Christian faith, Christian morals, Christian beliefs. So when you go around like preaching those, that type of message, obviously, at some point, people are going to look at you to make sure that you're practicing the same thing. Again, it starts with this question from this woman here in the audience.
You are married to a woman who is not Christian. In her Wikipedia, I just looked that up. I wanted to know what her faith was. I didn't know this before. But she still calls herself Hindu. You are raising three kids in interracial, cultural, racial, religious household. How are you maintaining or how are you teaching your kids not to keep your religion ahead of their mother's religion? Or how are you teaching them that your kind, they're that kind who got here just few years or few decades ago is different or is better than your mom's kind who got here just a generation before? How are you balancing that? And when you talk about
And then she goes into immigration, but we want to stay on this subject here because I want to make a point with the exchange here with Erika Kirk. So the question that she is asking him is like, you are in an interfaith marriage. You are a proud Christian. You talk about Christianity a lot and all these things. I'm going to get into what the Bible says, as I told you guys. How are you navigating that? Because the person that you are married to is not Christian. And according to her, she said that on a Wikipedia page for his wife, it says that she is Hindu. So yeah, those are two different faiths. Again, I don't think this is even an issue if this isn't something that JD Vance doesn't wear on his sleeve, right? Like when you go out there telling people, Christianity this, Christianity that, etc. The Bible says this, our faith says that. Well, then people are going to look at you too. They're going to look at you and see, okay, where are you practicing this? Are you practicing what you preach? Now, let's go to the next clip here because I do want to show you his response to her. So let's go ahead and bring this in here.
And yes, my wife did not grow up Christian. I think it's fair to say that she grew up in a Hindu family, but not a particularly religious family in either direction. In fact, when I met my wife, we were both, I would consider myself an agnostic or an atheist, and that's what I think she would have considered herself as well. Everybody has to come to their own arrangement here. The way that we've come to our arrangement is she's my best friend. We talk to each other about this stuff. So we've decided to raise our kids Christian, our two oldest kids.
We're going to go back here for just a second, just to show you again what he said about what he thinks. Okay.
Not grew up Christian. I think it's fair to say that she grew up in a Hindu family, but not a particularly religious family in either direction. In fact, when I met my wife, we were both, I would consider myself an agnostic or an atheist, and that's what I think she would have considered herself as well.
That's what he thinks she would have considered herself, right? Okay. Again, if religion is not an issue to you, if it's not important to you, then this is just a whatever, just brush it off. But for someone like JD Vance, it is. This is something that he does talk about. He's talked about it often, right? So he can't really get upset here that he's being questioned about this. Let's continue on.
Everybody has to come to their own arrangement here. The way that we've come to our arrangement is she's my best friend. We talk to each other about this stuff. So we decided to raise our kids Christian. Our two oldest kids who go to school, they go to a Christian school. Our 8-year-old did his first communion about a year ago. That's the way that we have come to our arrangement. But Thank you. My 8-year-old was also very proud of his first communion. Thank you, guys. I'll tell him that Ole Miss wishes him the best. But I think everybody has to have this own conversation when you're in a marriage. I mean, it's true for friends of mine who are in Protestant and Catholic marriages, friends of mine who are in, atheist and Christian marriages. You just got to talk to the only advice I can give is you just got to talk to the person that God has put you with, and you've got to make those decisions as a family unit. For us, it works out. Now, most Sundays, Usha will come with me to church. As I've told her, and I've said publicly, and I'll say now in front of 10,000 of my closest friends, do I hope eventually that she is somehow moved by the same thing that I was moved in by church? Yeah, I honestly do wish that, because I believe in the Christian gospel, and I hope eventually my wife comes to see it the same way. But if she doesn't, then God says everybody has free will. And so that doesn't cause a problem for me. That's something you work out with your friends, with your family, with the person that you love. Again, one of the most important Christian principles is that you respect free will. Usha's closer to the priests who baptized me than maybe I am. They talk about this stuff. My attitude is you figure this stuff out as a family, and you trust in God to have a plan, and you try to follow it as best as you can. And
Okay. So here's the problem, folks. And walk with me here. Again, I grew up in the church. Here's the situation. All right. He said that someone that God put you with. What does the Bible actually say about that? We're going to take a look at this. And then two, again, this is something that JD Vance proudly preaches and talks about. So I think it is only fair to ask that question. I was wondering when this was going to come up. I know it came up before with Vivek Ramaswamy, right? Because it's a little bit different. Like if JD Vance was a Democrat, I think this would be looked over. But because JD Vance is a Republican, he does consider himself to be MAGA. I mean, we got to look at the message that is really pushed there, right? Like that God, country, Christian principles, right? So I do think that is a fair question in that respect. Now, let's look at what the Bible says, because he said someone that God put you with. So actually, and you can find this on Family Life, right? They bring up that scenario. It's a commonly fair scenario. A Christian dates a non-Christian. They fall in love. The Christian must make a choice, go through the pain of a breakup, or be unequally yoked with an unbeliever. Unfortunately, many choose the latter and later regret it. The Bible warns against being unequally yoked in 2 Corinthians 6:14. Do not be yoked together with unbelievers. For what do righteousness and wickedness have in common? Or what fellowship can light have with darkness? NIV. Because the phrase unequally yoked can be a bit difficult to understand, I'd like to read this verse from the Message, a paraphrase of the Bible. These verses read, "Don't become partners with those who reject God. How can you make a partnership of right and wrong? That's not partnership, that's war. It's light best friends with dark. Is light best friends with dark? Does Christ go strolling with the devil?" Now, again, if you are not religious, this is not going to mean or probably matter as much to you, right? I grew up in the church. As I told you guys before, I've been to Baptist churches. I've been to Pentecostal churches, which was quite an experience, what I've told you guys about before. I'm not involved in that way as I used to be, the way that I was raised, right? But the reality is this. If JD Vance is a Christian, the Bible does warn about this. It does say that you are supposed to be equally yoked. So this idea that JD Vance spouts there, where he says that, well, God put me together with this person. According to the Bible, that would not be the case. According to the Bible, God would not send someone to you that you are not equally yoked with. Now, I can tell you a little bit from experience here as well before we get to the Erika Kirk part. The part here where they talk about a Christian dates a non-Christian and they hope the other person will change and what can come from that. The reality is you don't know, right? You can hope that person will eventually become a Christian, but that may not necessarily be the case, right? And what does the Bible say about those who are non-believers? Right? So these things are important. If you consider yourself to be a Christian, they are important. And I would say to someone like JD Vance, being a part of a movement that very much follows the teachings in the Bible. Let's continue on a little bit more here. Some Christians may find themselves saying, but this person will change. Maybe so. God has the power to change someone, and we should never give up on praying for those we care about. But the verse in 2 Corinthians doesn't say, do not be unequally yoked unless you think the person will change. It says, do not be yoked together with unbelievers. Let's go to Corinthians 1. 7:16 says, how do you know, wife, whether you will save your husband? Or how do you know, husband, whether you will save your wife? It's our responsibility as followers of Christ to be obedient to God's command and to trust him for the best possible plan for our lives, even if that means our lives will go in a new direction. This issue was even a concern in the Old Testament when God was leading the Israelites into the promised land. He gave them strong commands about how they should deal with pagan nations. Deuteronomy 7:3-6 says, do not intermarry with them. Do not give your daughters to their sons or take their daughters for your sons, for they will turn your sons away from following me to serve other gods, and the Lord's anger will burn against you and will quickly destroy you. This is what you are to do to them. Break down their altars, smash their sacred stones, cut down their Asherah poles, and burn their idols in fire. For you are a people holy to Lord your God. The Lord your God has chosen out of all the people on the face of the earth to be his people, his treasured possession. So those are people who choose to follow Jesus Christ. So the point is here, like I said, if you are a Christian, that's what the Bible says, that you are not supposed to be with one that is unequally yoked. So to that point, JD Vance issued a response here. And for whatever reason, the person he was responding to, that comment was removed. But I want you to see what he says here. What a disgusting comment. And it is hardly being the only one along these lines. First off, the question was from a person seemingly to my left about my interfaith marriage. I'm a public figure and people are curious, and I wasn't going to avoid the question. Okay, so it doesn't matter if she was to his left, right? Like, he brings this up to try to, I guess, like, push back against what she said, or maybe to try to discredit her. I just read you what it says in Corinthians in the Bible. So it doesn't matter if the question came from someone on the left or the right. I'm telling you what it says in the Bible for Christians. Let's continue on here. Secondly, my Christian faith tells me the gospel is true, okay, and is good for human beings. My wife, as I said in TPUSA, is the most amazing blessing I have in my life. She herself encouraged me to re-engage with my faith many years ago. She is not a Christian and has no plans to convert, but like many people in an interfaith marriage or any interfaith relationship, I hope she may one day see things as I do. Regardless, I'll continue to love and support her and talk about her faith and life and everything else because she's my wife. So he's contradicting himself here because he says that his Christian faith tells him the gospel is true. Then he goes on to say that his wife has no plans to convert. So if you know she has no plans to convert and you say that the gospel is true, then you know what the Bible says in Corinthians, right? So again, none of this matters if this wasn't something that JD Vance politically espouses, right? Like, he does talk about this. He does advocate for, we need to bring, the Christian faith back in the mainstream. He does push that rhetoric. But he's not following his own faith here, according to Corinthians. Third, posts like this reek of anti-Christian bigotry. Yes, Christians have beliefs, and yes, those beliefs have many consequences, one of which is that we want to share them with other people. That is completely normal thing, and anyone who's telling you otherwise has an agenda. So now everybody got an agenda, right? Because someone wanted to push back on you about this. That post is unavailable, so I guess they got Twitter to take that down. Why does this matter? Because when you see this exchange that happened between Erika Kirk and JD Vance, in my opinion, is not appropriate. I am a married woman. When I was a single woman, I would never hug a man that way unless I was romantically interested or unless we were already dating. That's not the way that I would hug someone who is married. And that is definitely not the way I would hug someone who is just a friend. And we can talk about hugs here in a little bit more. I want to show you something that she said before he comes onto the stage that is sending alarm bells to people. Let's go ahead and get into this.
You do it. You do it. Do it for Charlie. Do it for Charlie. And I am tremendously blessed and honored tonight to be able to introduce to you a very, very dear friend and his wife. They are incredible. And I see no one will ever replace my husband. No. But I do see some similarities of my husband in JD.
That's weird. It's not weird that she said she sees similarities of Charlie Kirk in JD Vance. It's weird that she started with no one will ever replace my husband. And then she said she sees similarities in JD Vance that she saw in Charlie Kirk. It's just weird. And this is the thing, like I told you guys before, this whole thing to me is still weird. This whole Charlie Kirk situation to me does not make any sense. There's some trickery going on that I've talked about before and others have also talked about. But the reality here is I have had questions about her. And I told you guys, I thought it was very weird how quickly she got out in the public eye right after Charlie Kirk was killed. And when someone loses a spouse and or a friend or someone very close to them, people need time to grieve. And it was just kind of weird that like she was already out there on the podcast. She was already like, I'm like, whoa, it almost seems like it's a marketing machine that must continue, right? Like it was fast. It was very fast. And that was something that I had questions about. Now we're hearing, and no one will ever replace my husband. Why even need to say that? That's the part that's weird. It's not the fact that she saw similarities between her husband and JD Vance. It's the fact that she said that other part. That's just kind of weird to me. Let's continue on here.
And Vice President JD Vance, I do. And that's why I'm so blessed to be able to introduce him tonight. Because he understands the fight that we're up against. And he can articulate that in a way that transcends race, that transcends demographic backgrounds. He's an amazing man. So please help me welcome to the stage Vice President JD Vance.
And I have to mute it because of the music that they play, right? But I just want you guys to see this because I'm going to show you the hug in person. And then I'm going to show you the pictures so you can see the close up. Let's go ahead and just speed ahead here. Just want to be fair. I want to show you the video first and then show you the close up pictures. Now watch this exchange. Wait for it. Okay. Okay. Okie dokie. Listen, honey, let me tell you something. I do not hug other men that way. I don't put my hand on their head. My hand is not in their hair. I'm going to show you the close up so you can see it a little bit better. But no, JD Vance is a married man. In my opinion, that hug, yes, it's inappropriate. And that's just me. I don't know. Call me old fashioned. When I go to hug like one of my guy friends, I go in with the side hug. You guys know what a side hug is? Is when you go in like that. So nice to see you. Bow. Oh, see you next time. Bow. Thanks so much for having us over. Bow. That's it. It's the side hug. Many of you know about that. My hand is not going to go on their head. I don't put my hand in their hair. That's just inappropriate. Like, that's the way that I would hug like my husband. But beyond that, obviously, no, she's not married anymore. But JD Vance is a married man. And so to me, I kind of see it as disrespectful towards JD Vance's wife. I'm going to show you the close up here. Everybody is talking about this, guys. Everybody is talking about it. You need to see it for yourself. So look at where her hand is. And people are like, well, they're friends. Okay, yes, I have friends too. I have guy friends too that I'm really close with. I don't hug them that way. It's just not appropriate. One, I'm married. Two, they're married, right? So no, even if I was single, this is not the way that you hug a married man. This is the problem that I had with this in particular. So to me, it just, I ain't feeling it, bruh. Guys, I'm not feeling this. And so you'll see even here, Duchess said, no one hugs like that unless they've been intimate. Now I will say this. No, I don't know if they've been intimate. I don't want to go down that road. We don't know. Right? We don't know that. I just think that it's an inappropriate hug. But people are talking. People are talking all over the place because people are like, what the hell is this? Here's another one. How would you describe these moments between Erika Kirk and JD Vance last night? And so you see the pictures here. His hand is on her waist. I think she got on leather pants, leather, whatever. I don't know. She got on them tight pants. Remember, we went through the story of who Erika Kirk is, right? We went through the whole honeypot story. We went through the story about how she was a part of that Romanian, which was random, Romanian organization. And then some of those people complained and said that they were abused or trafficked or whatever. It just, her story screams honeypot. It really does. So this right here, it's just not appropriate for you to hug a married man like that. It's not. And I would hope, especially I'm just people that notice it, because the thing is on Twitter, you have conservatives calling it out. You have leftists calling it out. A lot of people calling it out. People are making jokes here. People got them smooching with different type of animation. The Disruptor said she is really touchy-feely with men in power. That girl Casey said she forgot where she was at. I mean, and you can go on and on. You'll see here, this woman, Potty Mouth, she had a few things to say. Listen to this.
Holy shit, they are trying to replace Usha Vance with Erika Kirk. Because Erika Kirk and JD Vance is their Christian nationalist wet dream. And you won't.
Listen to this. She believed they're trying to replace JD Vance's wife with Erika Kirk. Listen.
Holy shit, they are trying to replace Usha Vance with Erika Kirk. Because Erika Kirk and JD Vance is their Christian nationalist wet dream. And you won't convince me otherwise. What is this? What is this body language? When did we start putting our hands up in the hair of our friends when we hug? Yeah, no, you don't. This is weird. Oh, and then there's this one. JD, why are your hands so low? There's no reason for them to be on her hips, but there they are. But if that's not enough, here is her introducing him at Turning Point.
And we went through that part, right? But yeah, women who are watching, if you are married, how would you feel if another woman hugged your husband that way? Get your hand down. Get your hand out of their head. What are you doing? We went through this part. Let's fast forward how she introduced him.
No one will ever replace my husband. No. But I do see some similarities of my husband in JD and Vice President JD Vance. I do.
And if you're not convinced yet that they're trying to replace her with Erika Kirk, this is him when asked by a student about him and his wife's difference in their religious beliefs. And he ends it with this.
who I hope eventually.
And we saw that part. So you guys see, it's just now people are speculating, right? People are like, whoa, is there something going on there? I don't know. I just know that hug itself was inappropriate. JD Vance is mad, of course, because people are talking about it. People got all kind of jokes. They got a damn Halloween costume that they're trying to, it's an AI version of a Halloween costume. Kim says he thinks Usha is a liability, so Erika must be his first lady. They got the JD Vance first lady Halloween costume, includes Christian, blonde hair, blue eyes, does not include Usha. Oh my God. I'm telling you guys, like the jokes have been like, holy crap, right? But you know what's bad about all of this in the end? You know who really loses here? His wife. Is disrespectful to his wife. Anonymous said it here. The biggest victim here is JD Vance's wife, Usha, who is being disrespected in so many ways, constantly humiliated by Vance on stage. Remember, she met him before he was a politician in law school. Yeah, that's the sad part. And I'm pretty sure she's seen these things too, right? If I've seen them, you've seen them, she's seen it too. I just think it's disrespect. You don't, Erika girl, you don't hug a married man like that. You just don't. So I don't know, you guys. I told you, I still have my questions about her. I really do. Her background is really sus. And then we see this exchange. Ladies, how would you feel if someone hugged your husband that way? Hey guys, this was a Sabby clip. If you like what you saw, hit that like button and subscribe.